Hi, and welcome to the week of September the 12th. This is Miss Lee, and we are doing our biology course, and we are now moving into learning about next generation science standards. So I want to start with a warm-up about last week's lesson, which is why do we use a pie graph? Make sure that you understand why we use a pie graph, a line graph, an area graph, and any other kind of graph. So next generation science standards are what we're going to be working from this year. They do correlate with our Maryland standards. And since at the end of this year you will be taking a MESA test, which is the Maryland Science exam, you need to know how we're going to go about getting there and what we're going to be doing. So let's talk about these NGSS standards. So first of all, whenever you talk about NGSS, it is a trifold way of looking at science. First, we look at science and engineering practices, which is doing science. So how would we go about doing it? We look at the disciplinary core ideas. These are the facts you need to know. And then lastly, we'll be looking at cross-cutting concepts, which is connecting sciences together. So if we think about NGSS, we think about it as a cake. That's a good analogy. Where the baking tools and techniques to make this cake are your science and engineering practices. The cake itself is these core ideas that you need to learn. And the frosting connects all these things. So that is your cross-cutting concepts. Science and engineering practices, when we think about that, you're asking questions and defining problems. So you're going to ask a question and then you're going to define that problem. You're usually going to develop and use a model of some sort. You plan and carry out an investigation. Think about doing an experiment. Once you've done that investigation, you have to analyze and interpret the data. You will use mathematics and computational thinking to get to these places. You will construct an explanation and design a solution. You will engage in an argument for evidence. And lastly, you will obtain, evaluate, and communicate this information to others. Here are some good examples of the difference in the questioning between science and engineering. In science, we ask questions like, what is COVID-19? How does it infect a person? How do we reduce the symptoms, and how can we prevent it? Whereas in engineering, we might look at, what is the structure of COVID-19? What part of a human does COVID-19 infect, and how does it enter the body? Once infected, what item or items can we use to reduce the symptoms? And then lastly, what device or devices can be used to prevent this disease? Notice the difference in the two. Now we're going to talk about these disciplinary core of ideas. Again, we're cross-cutting, which means we're going to go across all the different types of sciences to look at a problem. Even though we are studying specifically life sciences or biology this year, we are going to look at these other disciplines as well. So in physical science, you study matter and its interactions, motion and stability, energy, waves and their applications to technology or information transfer. With life science, you're looking at molecules and organisms. You're going to look at ecosystems. We're going to look at heredity, and we're going to look at biological evolution? What makes us diverse? What makes us unified? Another disciplinary core idea is this earth-space science. And we look at the earth as a place in the universe, the earth within a system, and then the earth and how human activity affects it. And lastly, in our disciplinary core of ideas, we're going to learn this year engineering, technology, and application of science. We're going to look at engineering design. How does it work? How does it help? And then we're going to link engineering, technology, science, and society. So we're going to be doing all of that. So those are our core ideas that we're going to be learning this year. Now these cross-cutting concepts. Cross-cutting concepts are just concepts that help unify science through common applications in all those different scientific fields we just talked about. They're going to enhance the idea of the different disciplines in science. So we're going to look at structure and function. That's one of the things we're going to look at. We're going to look at how is something put together to do a function or a job. It's going to help us to understand the phenomenons we're going to be looking at. The scale will make a difference in the structure and function. Think of the scale of an atom versus the scale of the universe. The goal is to move from understanding the mechanical function and then move on to complex systems. So we're going to go from small to large. And then the overall concept is the fact that form always fits function. Think of your arm. The form of your arm helps you to use it to reach, grasp things, pick up things. All right, so form versus function. We are going to look at energy and matter. Energy and matter. Matter is anything that has mass and takes up space. I hope you know that already. Energy causes a change. The flow, cycle, and conservation of energy are some of the things we're going to look at. They're going to help us to understand how they work. Matter and energy are often get into and back out of a system. We call this flow, so we'll look at the flow of energy. Cycles are where matter and energy gets recycled to be reused. And the amount of matter or energy that go into a system will always equal the amount that comes out of that system. That's called the conservation of energy. We're going to look at cause and effect. So in science, we usually look at how something is caused to make a specific outcome so that we can predict what the next outcome is going to be. We're going to look at chain reactions. How does this one thing cause this to happen, cause this to happen, cause this to happen? Okay, so we're going to look at chains of events. We're going to look at from very simple causes and effects up to very complex causes and effects. We're going to explain the unexpected. What if it doesn't follow that prediction? What's next? We're going to figure out how to test something so that we can figure out the cause. And we're going to lead to very good arguments and eventually form new theories about science. Now, system and system models. We're going to look a lot at system and system models. A system is a portion of the universe that is separate from the universe. So think of the Earth system. It also allows us to understand phenomena and improve our engineering designs when we're thinking about these problems. You can focus in on one system and use that to do your study. You will have a boundary between your system and the universe. We'll talk about what that boundary is. Systems can either be open or closed. Open meaning that they allow outside influences. Closed meaning that they do not allow outside influences. A system model is how we understand how a system works, so we will be doing modeling. Students will construct these models by either drawing them or describing them sometimes. And it's going to use things like invisible features, mathematical relationships, and limitations and assumptions that we make about models. In these cross-cutting concepts, remember that's what we're looking at right now. We're looking at patterns. Patterns are everywhere. Think of all the different patterns you see. They do lead to explanations and theories in science. You have to recognize them first, find that pattern, and then once you find that pattern, you will learn to classify things. So a good example of patterns is in petals on a flower. Certain number of petals on a flower that are in a specific pattern will tell you what classification that flower is. The goal of a science class is to have students to recognize, classify, and evaluate patterns. So we're going to first recognize them, then we're going to classify them, and then we're going to evaluate them. Does it happen all the time? Does it only happen in certain times? So we're going to look at that. And then it allows you to see patterns in data and make accurate predictions. We're going to look at both stability and change. Some things stay the same, and some things become different over time. So we're going to look at that. We're going to look and see how a stable system changes. We're going to look at patterns and how they control those systems. We're going to try to make accurate predictions. So most of our predictions are going to try to be accurate. A system is going to have controls that let matter and energy in and out of that system. Systems have feedback loops. Some of them are negative feedback loops and some of them are positive, and we'll talk more about those. In our houses, we have a feedback loop, and that's our thermostat. Think about it, guys. If you've got the air conditioner on, when it gets too hot in your house, that air conditioning pushes out to cool the house down. Once it gets to a certain temperature of cooling, it stops until it gets too hot again, and then it goes again. This is a feedback loop. Many systems, of course, have mechanisms to help them maintain equilibrium. We have a system in our body that helps us to maintain equilibrium in our body temperature. When we get too hot, we sweat, cooling our bodies off. When we get too cold, we shiver, warming our bodies up. You are going to develop a language to explain patterns, to understand feedback loops, and to eventually figure out how to understand a complex system. And last, in these cross-cutting concepts, we're looking at scale, proportion, and quantity. We're going to look at phenomena of different scales. Some of them are going to be really tiny, some of them are going to be huge. We're going to look at 3 different continuums. We're going to look at size, we're going to look at time, and we're going to look at energy for our different continuums. Proportion is important, which means you need to be able to scale something. You have to be able to understand comparisons of scales. What's the difference in how big the universe is as opposed to how small a molecule is. We're also going to look at how to estimate and measure things. We're going to determine what units are best for measurements. We're going to order objects and events, not only by scale, but by data. And we'll need to be able to predict from the data that we use.